Hey, what's up, everybody? We are live for the second panel of List Building School. And today I'm bringing you some really big content marketing rock stars. They are amazing at what they do. And I'm going to give them a little intro in a bit here. But the panel of today is content promotion strategies to grow your list rapidly, featuring Sujan Patel, Cody Lister, and Andy Crestodina. And they are really good at this stuff. You might have seen the panel yesterday where we talked about content creation. Now it's all about how can you actually promote this content. And I remember hearing a quote from a big online marketer. His name is Derek Halper, and he said, you gotta spend 80% of the time promoting your content and 20% creating it, which kind of like, oh, should I, a lot of people think they're spending all this time, maybe even 95% of the time creating content, and they're not spending any time promoting it. But here we're gonna kind of get over that and learn some really great strategies for getting your content out there to promote it, and also grow your list so you can grow this audience, which is all about here. But let's start with a quick intro for everyone, and you're just gonna see who's tuning in here too. We have a great audience coming in live. We have Loretta, we have Karen in the chat, Melissa, April. And be sure to log into the chat too. If you're here, see like a little over 100 people coming on here, a little bit more soon. And log into the chat so you can engage, you can ask our panelists questions. That's really important. So let's get to a quick kind of round of intros. So let's start with Sujan. So what you're all about, and like how does content promotion really help you grow your own list?
Hey, what's up, everybody? I focus on a lot of things. I'm a marketing entrepreneur, and I have a marketing agency called What Profits and a couple SaaS businesses. And content promotion is really the anchor for me of what makes content marketing effective for me. Content marketing and just in general inbound is the primary driver of new business to my agency as well as SaaS businesses. And actually last year I did the math. I wrote a little over 300 articles, and 10 of them actually generated 90% of the leads and revenue. And those are the 10 that I put the most effort into. And guess what it was on? Content promotion. So that's kind of my background, and I live and breathe this stuff. So without content promotion, it's just a bunch of dead content out there.
Yeah, for sure, Sujan. And what if you can briefly, we can get into that more, but what was the number one content promotion strategy that you leveraged, or was it a lot of different ones, or anything that stood out to you?
Yeah, honestly, the biggest one, and this is kind of something I worked towards, which was building relationships, right? So I did a lot of things like influence marketing, people reaching out to people, build like Slack group communities and all this stuff, like webinars like this, and just participating. But at the end of the day, what that caused was what ended up happening is I built a lot of relationship with powerful people, smart people, doing content marketing as well. All of that, the relationships is what helped me get into, open a lot of doors and naturally get lots of references, links, traffic, and build my brand. So that was ultimately the biggest win for me.
Awesome, and we can get into that a little bit more, how you can actually implement this even if you're starting out. But let's move over to Cody Lister. So Cody's a friend of mine. Actually, we connected a while back. He is also a student of mine and just recently did another summit on content promotion. So that's why I brought him on here. And he's been growing his list quite massively with doing summits, but also leveraging content promotion strategies. So Cody, the floor is yours here.
Hey, so thanks for the intro. I've been doing content promotion pretty hardcore in the last, say, 12 months or so, and it's grown my list from pretty much 0 to what's now about 32,000 people in about 8 months time. So the key strategies that I've been using, and I'll just get right into it. I don't even want to give myself the intro. The best strategies off the bat for me have been referral networks or communities, which Sujan mentioned. Basically networking with influencers on those networks to get upvotes for your content or for my content, and getting people coming back to my site and embedding content upgrades into my posts so that that flood of traffic converts into something, into real subscribers. Product hunt has been really key as well, which is another form of a referral network or community that's worked wonders and drove like 3,000 people in a 24-hour period or so to an ebook that we were promoting that I wrote. And then the other one that's been really key is content pre-outreach, which I'll go as far as to scraping commenters from other people's blog posts and then getting their email addresses, or getting the shares from BuzzSumo, the Twitter shares, and reaching out to those people in advance to give them a heads up. It's a time-consuming process, but it drives tons of traffic and email subscribers off the bat.
Yeah, totally. And actually, if you read this epic list building playbook we put together, like when you signed up to the summit, you actually got that for free. I included one of the strategies was commenter pre-outreach, and we can kind of get into that a little bit. I think maybe some people, they don't really know what it is, but we can break this down after we go to an intro first with Andy. So you can tell us a little bit about what you're up to, and maybe also how promoting your own content has helped you grow your list and business.
Sure. So I'm the co-founder of a web design company in Chicago. And so it's really just a B2B services company. This is year 15. And I knew from the very beginning that I had to understand search and analytics. So I've done about 15 years of search and analytics work. The last 8 years I've been deeply involved in content marketing and email and social media. I'm a big believer in social, especially in B2B. Social is not really going to drive leads for you. I'm a big believer in social for online networking. And I am a huge fan of this collaborative approach to content. So obviously you should never create a piece of content without a plan to promote it in advance. When I try to explain this to people in presentations and in blog posts and places, I remind them that it's not the best content that wins, it's the best promoted content that wins. If you want an example of that, just consider this. The New York Times does not have a list of the best books. The list of the best-selling books, right? It's a big difference. No one has a list of the best books, right? It's a list of the best sales, the best-selling books, the best promoted books. So anyway, so I believe in collaborative content, and my approach to that is to just network with the best experts with generous mindsets, people like everyone on this panel, and including them in your work. So you can just mention and quote and mention someone, but it's way more fun to do outreach during the creation process and include experts with large social followings and big audiences of their own in your stuff. I sometimes tell people that an ally in creating content is an ally in promoting content. So what you're doing is building a small army of people who will help you promote your content as long as you include them in your stuff. So I believe that content optimized for search includes keywords. Content optimized for social includes people. And if you look at my blog, I have my content is filled with experts, which isn't just better promotion, but it's better quality content, and it's a lot more fun. So I'm into fun. I like fun, and including people in my work is way more fun. Never used a pop-up, never used a lead magnet, and just organically attracted like 10 to 15 subscribers a day on average. Our list is currently sitting at around 13,000, which is great considering our real business audience is strictly Chicago. But I'm a huge fan of content promotion. I like to combine search, social, and email. And my latest favorite tactic is collaborative content.
That's awesome. And I think the theme here is going to be a little bit like, connecting with people. And I actually, if you remember, if you're here on the panel, I said yesterday, like, just the easiest way to get your content out there, like, and also make it better quality is to include people. I did this in the very beginning, and then now I'm taking things a little bit to the next level. I have like a massive guide I'm creating with design and all this, and I'm including people in that. Like I reached out to a lot of, actually all of you here on the panel, Andy, Cody, Sujan, like reached out to you a few months ago, asked a simple question, about, what's your top 3 list building strategies that are generating subscribers for you today. Then you include that in a post. You can do it simple with like a roundup, but you can also like write out an entire guide. It's going to be so much easier to promote your content if you like have a really great piece of content reaching out to these experts. Very likely that they share it, right? So that's kind of my biggest strategy for doing this. But let's move to Sujan. I was a little bit interested to go back to what you shared before about like how you promoted with doing all this different influencer outreach and all this. So can you get into a little bit more your strategy for building all these relationships?
Yeah, so it's kind of twofold. So I start with content I'm writing myself, and going and doing guest posts, and again, just a solid plan and a roadmap of creating content, let's say over 90 days or even 6 months. I kind of think that far ahead of what can I do and where can I publish this. So obviously publishing on my site is a first step, but I make also from there, I also make a hit list of the top blogs, the top bloggers, the top like influencers in any industry. So like what if I were to talk about myself, I'm going to talk about other marketers, but let's, you don't have to just apply this in just marketing. You can do this for, really anything. So I did this in the small business sector, like restaurants and kind of brick and mortar, not SMBs or like not the sexy businesses. I'm talking restaurants, right? Which is very hard. There's restaurant associations, there are a lot of old school kind of thinking, and they're kind of way behind. But you essentially want to make a hit list of all the top people that you want to get to know, and kind of work from the bottom up and make it a list based off their influence. Easy way to measure this is how many Twitter followers they have, but you can use CloutScore, you can use like how much traffic they get to the blog or any estimates. Like pretty much you just want to get some sort of gauge and work towards connecting with them, or work towards building a relationship with them. And a lot of times that means reach out to them for content. But what I do to start with is I'll actually publish. The first thing I do is I'll publish like either a list of the top X blogs in this industry, or just a top list, and suck up to all these guys. I don't tell them anything. I just kind of let it go out there. I spend a lot of money, a lot of time on the promotion. So I spend some money on Facebook advertising, Outbrain, Zamanta, and pretty much when you're first starting off, you're not going to have much traffic. So it's important to just kind of put some money. I'm talking maybe $50, $100 towards just a bit of promotion, and get out there, get on their radar. Now you have a reason to reach out, but don't do it yet. Then I go and write the other, I kind of brainstorm the other content I'm going to be creating over the next couple months and where I can place them. And where I want to place them is actually the blogs I made a list of. So, those blogs, I'll start to reach out and kind of pair content ideas to the blog that would fit. And I start with the that I mentioned them and I included them in a previous article. A big fan of their work. I don't do outreach at scale anymore. Personally, I do it very one-on-one, and get really specific with my outreach. And I just send them the article. So again, like it's usually always works. I've had very, very rare kind of rejections, but usually due to like they don't do any guest posts and whatnot. And from there, I keep the relationship going. Once I build that relationship, anytime I have content that would fit that person, or if I can cite something they've done, or again, it's not necessarily. I'm not doing this to suck up to them. I'm doing this because they're truly authoritative, or else they wouldn't be on the list in the first place.
Right.
And they help prove the point. One quote from somebody that's authoritative could be 500 words, and you explaining it on your blog. So I want to just break up content. I'm already writing a lot of details, case study stats, and things like that. Why not just grab a quote to kind of prove the point a little quicker? So that's kind of my initial outreach. Times that by 6 months and 20 blog posts, right. And what you end up creating is a meaningful relationship with a dozen or so people.
Yeah, for sure. And like this brings you, obviously, when you're doing this outreach and you have different blog posts, brings you the traffic. But then, I think some people, if you're doing that, but how do you get them on your list? Is this anything specific that you can maximize this when you're actually getting people to your websites? And what do you do personally, Sujan?
Yeah, so I kind of have a 3-part plan to get people to really build a true content machine. Phase 1 is what I mentioned here: creating content, building an audience, and starting the relationships. No email collection. No aggressive email collection, no pop-ups, nothing. Just some sort of, I'll probably have some sort of like download button, or essentially a subscription button on the sidebar, or maybe the header. But that's it. phase two, when I have enough traffic, I have some momentum, people actually want to come to the site for a second, third time, that's when I'll start getting a little bit more aggressive. I'll create content upgrades. Generally work well because by that time I'll have content that's been out there and some content that's getting some evergreen traffic or some wins under my belt, and I'll use the traffic that's being driven to these blog posts to content upgrades. Again, at this point, I'm looking for engagement, people sharing, people subscribing, people commenting. And comment to me is the same as an email opt-in. Somebody kind of left a lasting impression on somebody. It means they're going to be back because they want to be back. And then that's kind of a 3 to 6 month period. And then the last one is getting aggressive with opt-ins. I've had the most success with ebooks. Content upgrades in terms of conversion rate numbers have worked really, really well for me. But because the traffic it relies on, traffic coming to blog posts, it hasn't been the biggest, like in terms of email opt-ins hasn't been the biggest. The biggest ones have just been honestly a big fat welcome mat, like a hello bar style, kind of like a smart bar on the top, like a page takeover, or even I've gone as far as for some clients and some websites, every blog has a kind of a header or a hero image that has a big call to action. So we focus a lot on that. And again, because I do it so late in the game, I do it, usually 9 months into me doing content marketing. I'm just sitting there patient because I want to get 30, 40,000 visitors to the blog or to the website and then start getting email opt-in, because I found that if I get too aggressive up front, it really slows down my traffic growth.
That's interesting. And actually, people can just go, if they wanted to see it, take over whatever you are doing on your personal site, sujanpatel.com. And you actually split test that sometimes. Because I went there because I wanted to take a screenshot for an ebook we were creating to show examples, and then you had a different call to action. So I'm guessing you're seeing what works better there with the headline. So
yeah, you should never take anything on my site as face value. It's always a test. I get creative. I'm testing exit intent right now. Seems to be working. Driving it to my course, but yeah, I always try to test. I tried being goofy and kind of, I had a picture of me just smiling, sitting on the sofa, and it says find out why I'm so happy, or just stupid stuff. It's worked well, but actually the basic stuff like sign up for my newsletter worked even better. So again, it's a little different because I've built a brand and I've worked hard towards it, and a lot of my traffic is referral traffic from other content. So it's kind of like they already know me a bit, and
sure,
being goofy doesn't necessarily work. They don't know that I'm goofy yet. I don't know. So anyways, I'm always testing things out, but a big, like a PDF, an ebook, things like that have worked the best for me, and not necessarily through a content upgrade, but opt-in or pop-ups that suggest to download the PDF.
Definitely. All right, cool. We got a question here in the chat too, but I'm going to get first. I'm interested to just go to Cody to hear more about kind of the, I guess, what do you call it? Pre-commenter outreach. I think it's I was speaking to my copywriter about this. It doesn't sound, is that a word you came up with? Is it actually called that? Maybe you can explain a little bit so people get what it is if they read that in the ebook we sent out for the summit.
Yeah, so I did not come up with that term. It's called pre-outreach, and either Brian Dean or Sujan Patel came up with that term. I don't know which, but
maybe since Sujan is here, let's say he came up with it.
Yeah, he probably came up with it.
I have no clue. I call it pre-promotion. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I got pre in there.
Okay, so he calls it something. Anyway, just explain in a simple way so people understand what it is and how they can leverage this.
Yeah, so you're looking for similar type posts that have a topic that is pretty related to the post that you're about to publish on. Maybe you do this 2 or 3 weeks in advance. You look for the commenters on that post. So you'll go to you'll make sure it doesn't have a Discus plugin or something, and it just has a standard WordPress commenter box on that post. You'll find these different posts. You'll scrape the commenters using a tool such as import.io. which will automatically identify the commenters for that post, and then you can just basically scrape them very quickly and take those names, get the Twitter handles for those people, or you can import the domain names if it picks up their domain names, and then just submit it to a tool like AWS Mechanical Turk, or you can use emailhunter.co or one of the other tools out there to get their email addresses, and then you just give them a heads up. Hey, I noticed that you took an interest in this other post. I just want to give you a heads up that I'm publishing this other content soon that I think you may take an interest in. Cheers, your first name. And then if they reply back to you, you give them a heads up on the day that you publish it, so that you already have embedded into the post people who are primed to check it out and opt into your email list.
That's awesome. And actually, I think that's because I've seen your blog post recently, Cody, and right when you publish it, you have a handful of comments. So how did you get so many? I didn't do a lot of these, but obviously you have your email list and all that, but even before that, even before you send it out, sometimes you have a lot of comments. So is that how do you get them from commenting to actually getting onto your list? Is like they love the post so much, so they just signing up, or is there a strategy for that? Do you ask them to sign up via email, or what do you do?
Yeah, so Tim Sulo does something interesting where, and there's a few other people out there that do something interesting where if you comment, then you get redirected to opt-in right away. And there's a plugin that's designed for that, but I don't do that. So what I found was that the more epic, quote unquote, the post is, the more comments it's going to get, which kind of makes sense. You figure people are going to appreciate the time that you take to write that post, except for the post that I published while I was on this panel, which doesn't have any comments yet. But generally, people are super engaged when you have a post that's maybe 3,000 to 6,000 words long, really detailed, that you culled down, it's grammatically correct, it has a lot of screenshot examples, it's a step-by-step how-to post, or it's a really compelling infographic or video. Those are the types of content that will naturally get a lot of comments. And but when you combine that with pre-outreach and referral networks or communities, then that's where you really start to ramp up comments, and you can get 50 to 100 comments per post.
Where do you go for, let's say, referral networks and all this? What gives some examples?
Yeah, inbound.org is a pretty popular referral network within the content marketing community. Another one is Growth Hackers. But if you just went there to any of those sites and you just published, submitted some content, you wouldn't get any traction. You wouldn't show up in the trending section at the top. And the key is to show up in the trending section at the top of those sites. And so you can do some things like potentially sketchy things like paying an influencer on there to get them to upvote it, or you can just have a lot of friends that are willing to upvote it, and you reach out to them, giving them a heads up right when you're about to publish it or right afterwards, and get them all to upvote it at once so that you can start trending on the first page. It usually helps to know a moderator of those sites, because those are the people that can give it a real nudge to the first page and give it 7 or 9 upvotes right to the first page.
And that's how you get a ton of traffic, right?
That's where you start to get a ton of traffic. And if it's a compelling or engaging post and it's worthwhile, people will just keep upvoting it. So you see Brian Dean does this all the time. And I do this with every single post too. He'll just get, someone to submit it for him. And then, he'll get a bunch of friends or influencers to start upvoting it. And then, because it's a highly compelling post, it'll just naturally start to trend further up the rank and drive a lot of traffic.
What about if you're not in marketing then? Like, there's a lot of people here in different niches. Does this work for them?
Yeah. So one example that's not just strictly marketing, and I know it's probably not a great example, but one that is pretty frequently used, which is Product Hunt. which is not explicitly marketing. I mean, they have other things. It's really designed for sharing cool products and podcast episodes and stuff like that. And you can do some damage with that too and drive a ton of traffic. I know Amy Hoy used Product Hunt as a tool to basically drive all the opt-ins for her for an upcoming launch or relaunch of her flagship course. And so she got 2,000 to 3,000 opt-ins from releasing a great piece of content and getting it upvoted, to the top of ebook section of Product Hunt. And then, because it was a landing page, everyone was opting in, and then she put those people through a PAS sequence or a problem, agitate, solve copywriting email sequence, and then nurture them to buy from her. So you can do things like that too, to get people to actually buy from you. Because I think that's key, is you have to keep in mind what the purposes of why you're driving opt-ins or why you're creating content.
Right. And we talked a lot about yesterday actually on the panel, like don't just create content for the sake of creating content, actually have a purpose, maybe leading them into a funnel or whatever you're selling. But if you have any questions here in the chat, also, if you hear something Cody is saying, Sujan is saying, like post that, make the name in capital letter or something so it stands out in the chat, and then we'll get back to them if you have any follow-up questions on this. But I wanted to get to Andy because I know I want to hear a little bit about your strategy for involving influencers in your content and what type of content you're creating that you see get the most traction for you and your business.
Sure. Well, there's a study out by BuzzSumo and Moz where they analyzed 1 million articles, and they found that there's 2 types of content that lead to the most links and shares. Those 2 types of content are original research and strong opinion. And it's just absolutely true in my experience. Anything that you publish, if it's original research, that is unique to your website. It's like you're the source. You become the primary source. And anybody who talks about that topic will just sort of naturally refer to you, mention you, cite you, link to you. In my experience, original research leads to lots and lots of links, and strong opinion leads to lots and lots of shares. So one of the tricks to getting tons of shares is to just stick your neck out and take a stand and just be for something or be against something and come out strong. Here in the U.S., we have a presidential candidate who's really good at this, and it kind of scares me how powerful this tactic can be. You just watch it, it's like, wow, oh my God, like someone says something no one else will say, and like everyone pays attention. Kind of disturbing. But the research piece is more fun for me. I like to do original research a couple times a year, and if the research itself involves outreach, so right before we started this, I was mentioning how we have a blogger survey, and I'm using Ninja Outreach, which, and Sujan's got a tool that can do some of the similar things. But it's basically a way just to automate some of the steps in reaching out to people. And in my case, I'm doing a blogger survey. This is the 3rd year we've done it. And I'm getting 1,000 bloggers to answer 12 questions. That's a lot of work. It takes me a lot of time, and I'm doing it pretty manually because I want to keep a high-touch relationship with these people. Many of them are friends of mine. So I've got these semi-standard emails that go out to 1,000 people, and I'm building this list of people that will take the survey. They're bloggers. But once it's done, you know exactly who I'm going to promote this to. It's the people who contributed to the post. It's the people who filled out the survey. So one type of contribution is to get quotes from people, and we mentioned that. To do roundups of people, we mentioned that. To do a deep dive interview with one expert, that's. But if you produce survey type research, you're actually building the list to promote to as you gather the data. So everyone who takes a survey immediately responds, wow, can't wait to see it. The trick is to make sure that there are more than 0 people waiting for your post to go live, right? You've got a problem if there are 0 people waiting for your blog post or your article to go live. So I think that's the research itself can be one type of collaborative content. And it's just so much fun to do it. The piece when it's done ends up becoming, like in our case, so here's the trick. You basically look at your industry, any niche, and ask yourself, what are people frequently asserting but rarely supporting? It's a missing statistic in your industry, and every industry has these. So in content, we realized, like, how long does it take to write a blog post? No one had ever really produced that statistic. So by asking 1,000 bloggers to fill out these questions, one of them was, how long does it take to write a post? And we did the math and averaged it out and found the average blog post takes 2.5 hours to write. We own that. That's an original piece of research, right? Wikipedia links to this research. Everybody who talks about how much time it takes to create content links to this thing. So it just naturally becomes this kind of feedback loop where you produce something that's such high quality in collaboration with so many people that when it's published, all these people are ready and happy and can't wait to see it, and it goes live, and it's got 100 comments. They all share it. And in our case, it's kind of an unfair advantage because we collaborated with content creators on the research. These people, it's attracted hundreds of links from other websites. That increases our domain authority. Having a high domain authority is the key for us ranking for the money phrase, the dollar sign, the transactional related phrases like, the services we offer. And that's how, indirectly, that's how we rank number one for all of the service related phrases we're targeting. It's by producing high quality content, especially original research, in collaboration with lots of people who create content themselves. That leads to the links, which lead to the authority, which lead to the targeted traffic, the people searching for the service-related phrase, right? The buyer-related keywords. And that's how we generate, and that plus a good conversion rate on the sales pages leads to a steady stream of 5 to 10 inbound, totally, organic, marketing qualified leads per day. Not leads like a HubSpot lead, like a lead like a email address. I'm talking about people asking to hire us and pay us money to do what we do.
Like really qualified. That's awesome. And I just wanted to, since there's some people on here, maybe we can get another example. You talked about this original research you did, Andy, for the blogger survey, but how about we do something completely different? Like just kind of taking another example for a different niche. I don't know if you have any idea, but if you're here live, let us know in the chat. We maybe should come up with an idea for you, one of your topics, and Andy will pick the topic here if you post it in the chat. So
yeah, pick a niche, and we'll do it right now.
Yeah, so pick a niche, pick a topic, and we're gonna come up with a great original survey you can do to create content and involve influencers in.
Yeah.
Let's see if there's.
I got a topic for you guys.
All right.
Dogs. Let's just do dogs.
Sure.
Let's do dogs.
Awesome.
Cats get all the love, right? So we got to do dogs. Bring it back.
Dogs is a good one. Okay, so we're going to find the missing stat and create original content and research around this topic of dogs. So I'm going to use a huge shortcut by going to Answer the Public. Are you guys using this one? AnswerThePublic.com?
I don't.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Okay, I'm putting in dogs into AnswerThePublic.com, and it's going to give me all the top questions that people ask related to dogs.
All right.
Okay. 156 questions that people ask about dogs.
I'm going to type that in. I'm going to find that for people.
Sure. Answer the Public. So I'm going to do a why. Let's go to the why questions. Why do dogs eat poop? Perfect. We're going to produce some original research on this topic. Any of these, right? Any of these. So let's say I want to do, I'll pick a different one. Why are dogs better than cats? That would go viral, right? You've got the dogs and the cat lovers. Yeah. Okay, so dogs versus cats. We're going to produce some research. We're going to write some simple questions, and we're going to do outreach. Cody's going to build us a list of everybody who comments on every dog and cat post on the internet. And it's going to be he's going to give us 1 million email addresses straight from Email Hunter, right? So now it's going to be like a showdown, right? Dogs versus cats, and this thing is going to be in depth. We're going to answer this question, right? We're going to get a lot of data and a lot of respondents, and we'll produce some sound bites. And that's the key, right? Our goal is to make a sound bite, basically. People share sound bites. People link to sound bites. That's kind of what we're doing. We're finding a statistic, a sound bite that other people can cite. So what we'll end up is, pet preferences. I'm going to pick a key phrase people search for because I'm a search ranking whore. I'll admit it. Okay, that's a strong word. No, I pay attention to search. I'm an SEO guy. So I'm going to take pet preferences, whatever my target phrase is, and I'm going to say, 65% of people prefer dogs versus cats in, pick your target, in Minnesota, or with teens, or with moms, or with senior citizens. We have to go one level deeper than just dogs versus cats. And we'll produce this high quality piece of content that we'll then repurpose as an infographic, as a video, as a gallery, right? We're going to make, in this thing, and then Sujan's going to put it on Outbrain for us. And we're going to get 1 million visits next week from our dogs versus cats post. Where did we get the topic? He randomly picked it. Where did we get the headline? Well, we got it from research. Answer the Public. Where do we get the pre-promotion list from Cody? Where do we get the post-promotion native advertising from Sujan? It's really a combination of the tactics that will lead to that. It's we're choosing a promotable topic though, which is gives us a big advantage from the beginning.
That's awesome. That's great. And do you want to add something to that, Sujan?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I would even go on like Facebook, Target. I would first find out, like, research like all the top cat lovers and cat and dog articles, just on BuzzSumo. Find out who shared it, like what's going on there, and try to get like a gauge on the demographics. Target cat lovers on Facebook and get that same age demographic. I'm just going to take a wild guess, like under 25, and throw ads at this piece of content that says why dogs are better than cats, and just really piss people off, and they're going to click on it. Do the same exact thing for dog lovers, saying why dogs are better than cats. Or, essentially just play on the negative for the cat lovers, because there's just so many people that are passionate about that. And so it's an easy way to get really, really high click-through rate, fairly low cost. I would probably do mobile only audience network. My cost per click is going to be 3 to 5 cents. Comments, that we're going to have tons and tons of comments. And I mean, it's, we can go crazy. You can do ads on hot or not. And make a little ad that says like cat dog, and that would, it takes a bit of time. We're blending a lot of strategies here, but honestly, you would spend $100 and you could actually push this thing pretty far.
Yeah. I mean, this is great. I love it. People here, they like this website also Andy mentioned, they're loving it.
That's genius. That's awesome.
I didn't know about that one actually myself. So
BuzzSumo. I met one of the BuzzSumo founders, and he saw me talk about this, and so he told me about BuzzSumo is going to launch a similar tool soon. I can't remember, but Answer the Public, it's made by these British guys, and it scrapes just one source. I can't remember. It might be like Amazon or something. But BuzzSumo is building one that scrapes more sources to find more questions. The trick for them is to program it to do the linguistic matching, so it doesn't show those very similar things too many times. It's cool technology, but BuzzSumo will blow this away, I'm sure, within a month or two.
Definitely. I mean, we didn't really mention that so far, but BuzzSumo is definitely a tool you should use. BuzzSumo.com is great for, researching and coming up with ideas, and also seeing people. I mean, Cody, you're using this a lot for, doing outreach as well, like finding influencers and stuff like that who shared similar content. Isn't that how you do a lot of your outreach as well?
Yeah, so I use it all the time. I use it religiously. And I was just going to add that two things. Well, Andy said that original data gains a lot of traction. And I think that's really something that is key. Original data makes a huge difference in how viral the post goes, and how much people value that as cornerstone content, or content that, has longevity to it. And then also repurposing worked extremely well for me recently. I took a post that I wrote that got about 59 comments on it. And it was a really, long post. It got a ton of engagement. It drove thousands and thousands of visits within, that week. And then I saw that, and then we turned it into an ebook, got it upvoted to the top of Product Hunt, and drove another 3,000 plus visits off of it. So I think reappropriating content is, by far one of the most useful tactics for content promotion. But you have to pick the right things, because to create an ebook and do it well is going to cost you hundreds of dollars, if not more than that.
Okay. Interesting. So if someone is just starting out, and how can they do that? They don't have this big budget. They want to create this ebook. They want to get a few hundred subscribers for it. It's kind of, you got to start somewhere, right? So how would you do that? Like, just starting out, you don't even have that many influencers that yet. And so would you start just reaching out to people and building those relationships, and then marketing that free ebook? So
I would interview people. I think interviewing people is one of the best strategies for getting to know, influencers. And well, I don't really think of it like that. I just think of people as people. So, you kind of got to get over that hump of, well, I'm reaching out to an influencer as opposed to I'm just reaching out to another person who, may or may not want to talk to me. But, if they don't, then you just move on to the next person, I guess. And you don't take it to heart. I think a lot of people starting out will take it to heart and they'll get rejected, or someone won't have the time to talk to them. And I think it's important that you don't let that psych you out, and you just maintain your calm and your confidence, and just move on to the next person. If they reject you, it's their loss,
I mean, that's how I started. I did a lot of interviews to build relationships in the beginning. I didn't have any relationships, guys. Now you're seeing this summit that have all these big names, Ryan Lee, Nathan Barry, these guys on here today. I didn't have any relationships when I started out back in 2013, but I built up a pretty significant network by actually interviewing and connecting with people. And I'm from Sweden originally, so I didn't I didn't go to conferences and all that. Andy, I connected with him, for example, in 2014. He was on my first summit, the branding summit, and we've, kept in touch since then, and now he's on my next summit. Cody actually was on my list, and then he came to a meetup I did in New York, and then we connected, became friends. Sujan, obviously, I've known him. I got in touch with him recently for blog posts I published, but then just kind of connected, like some mutual friends, and then he's on here now too. So it's pretty cool how things can work out, and just building this over time. So let's see here. As people say they love this site, they're checking out this site. I think they like typing and seeing interesting things. But I wanted to get to a question from the chat from someone here. Does networking only work with guest posts? I guess we covered this a little bit. I mean, obviously it works for a lot of different things, but who would like to take this one? Like guest posting can be really good, but I think networking is for everything, as you mentioned here, is just reaching out to people, interviewing, involving them in your own content. So Andy?
Yeah, I think that there's sort of 5 levels of collaboration. Find something they wrote and mention it in your content, which is not really collaboration. You're just quoting them. The next level is getting a contributor quote. While you're working on it, reach out and have them contribute something specific to what you're writing. The next level will be the roundup. And I'd love to hear what Sujan and Cody think, but I think the roundup has kind of gone off the deep end. There's people now doing unconsumable content because there's 100 people in these roundups. I get it. Ego bait is powerful. They're trying to put the other people in there, and you take the bait because you're included, and then you share it. But I prefer to do smaller roundups with 6 people all answering the same 6 questions. It's more. I think that's better content. The next level beyond that would be the deep dive interview I mentioned, and the next level beyond that is the guest post. The guest post is a big level of contribution, right? Because you're asking the person to spend, an hour, or in my case, 4 or 5 hours on a specific, on a new piece, and working back and forth with the editor. So in each of these cases, it could be you're advanced in the relationship with that person, and you're already connected, and you already had ideas, and you were maybe chatting like we are now, and it's an extension of something you were already talking about. Or it can be the beginning, right? The collaboration is networking. So this might be your first touch. This might be your first excuse. So Dr. Pete from Moaz, he's a data scientist, and I loved his stuff. I reached out to him. I said, could you please answer these 6 questions for my roundup? He answered the 6 questions. So that's how I got to know him. The outreach for content and collaboration can be you don't have to network to build up to it. You can if necessary, but it's also an important networking step to work together. You're part of a team. So then a year later, when I asked him to speak at my conference, he said, yes, I only knew him because of the blog. So I could share a post I did. It's the online search for online networking guide.
Yes,
and you'll find it
posted in the chat too, so people can check it out. So
yeah, online networking guide. It's 35 steps. No one is going to take every step, but there's so many little ways that you can gradually, research and find and meet with, and then eventually collaborate with someone. You're going to get what you give. If you want comments, comment on people's stuff. If you want to be mentioned, mention other people. If you want your stuff shared, you got to share other people's stuff. So content marketing is a contest to see who can be the most generous. That's how I think about it. So give as much as you can. Give all the value you can. You want to be people to link to you, link to everybody else, right? You have to kind of help everyone else, and then eventually some of that comes back to you. But I'll share my online networking guide. It's 35 ways to connect with anybody. And it's this kind of long post. Anyone take 5 of these steps and it's enough to build a pretty good relationship.
Yeah, totally. Let me see here. I had one that's but you have to put it in the chat on the page. I think I'll grab it.
Oh, I'm on the
yeah, you're on the Hangouts.
There's the chat.
Yeah, they won't see it live. So
there you go.
Yeah. And let's see here. So I wanted to also, I had a question pretty much, I think this is for Sujan primarily. Do you suggest reaching out one blog at a time to see if they want your post, or do you reach out to several at a time and then go with whoever bites first? I think, Sujan, you said you do more like quality outreach now, that you're not reaching out so much in quantity. So like, I guess they're more likely to respond to you that way. Is that what you would suggest to someone starting out too?
Either when you're starting off, whether you know them, however far along you are, it's always best to do one-to-one. Even if you do one-to-many, do a mail merge so it looks like one-to-one. Don't be CC people. Like, just make it. Nobody wants to see an email newsletter asking them to do something, right? Like, that's not That's not an ask. That's like a demand, and like, no one's gonna really. Some people will bite, but I found that it's that human connection that works well. So I would recommend it one-to-one and do a mail merge, and that's actually like, I don't do one-to-one. I mean, the end result is one-to-one, but I do a mail merge and I swap out like basic information. But if I follow up with that person again, I'll make sure it's personal. I'm not going to reach out to the same person twice using something semi-canned. But what I found is that when you're first starting off, it's important to kind of build a name for yourself. And many people think that's quantity. Like Andy mentioned, do what's best for that content and what's going to create the best results. And everybody's doing 5,000 experts on this, right? So don't do that. Go do 5 experts, right? Like, don't just go with what's working. Go with if you want to go with what's working, use that strategy, but create something that's unique, right? So I always just start Googling stuff, look at BuzzSumo, look at just start following the trails that go on. Like, for me, again, marketing, the marketers go on Inbound, Growth Hackers, and I look at what has done well. And I will try to figure out a way to say something unique about that same exact topic or whatnot. So you have to, without a unique kind of angle, all of the promotion stuff, in my opinion, falls apart, and the compounding factor doesn't actually kick in.
Yeah. And we had another one coming here in the chat, which is kind of like, okay, we're going to reach out to influencers and all this, but what if you're like you're like an online nobody knows about you yet? What's the best way to do that so people actually pay attention? Is that just to create this really high quality content involved? I mean, you gotta get to the stage where you can involve people reaching out. So how do you get them, I guess, to say yes when like you're not Sujan Patel right now? You're like starting from scratch.
So I can speak to
okay,
this.
So Cody speaks. If you're not Sujan,
I'll volunteer as the no.
That's good. Okay, Cody can speak to it. I mean, you grew your list pretty quickly, actually, from people didn't know about you. So I think it's a good person to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a good thing and a bad thing. So it's a good thing because it's great to have an email list because I can send them a million different offers and different content. And I can also, but it's a bad thing because I don't have as much know, like, and trust built up with that list. So the key isn't just to build your list as fast as humanly possible. It's also to build know, like, and trust. And that takes patience. And that also takes a lot of ongoing, consistent content from that you send to your list. And that's really how you nurture them into wanting to buy something from you, whether it's a product or service. But back to your question about, well, what do you do if you're a complete nobody? Well, first of all, I would say stop thinking of yourself as a complete nobody because you're just a human on planet Earth with everyone else. So you have to keep that in mind. And as I said before, you don't get psyched out by reaching out to people. The worst that can happen is they either say, take a hike or no, or they just don't respond to you, which is probably what would happen most of the time. So in the cases where they don't have the time to talk to you. So just reach out or, find a good way to provide value first. And why interviews is a great way to gain traction is because, and especially with a summit, because you're just getting tons of interviews in a very short period of time. So you're just giving people a lot of super high quality content, all packed into a very short period of time, and you're building relationships. So that can be a great tool for establishing your reputation starting out. But generally, I would say that you should just focus on reaching out to the people that you want to get to know. And if they reject you the first time, well, keep at it, or, do something for them to help them, and, offer to help them in some way, giving them some value, and then they'll, pay attention to you eventually.
Mm-hmm. And don't expect anything in return right away. I think that's what a lot of people do. I mean, I got just now, I actually checked my email. Just don't like reaching out to someone. Like, yeah, you might want to give praise to someone, but right away asking for something is not the way to go. If I don't know that person, yes, you be like, hey, great summit, whatever, and then you're asking me to promote your product, whatever. That's not the way to go, in my opinion. I think you can. I mean, if you're enjoying the session here, you can actually reach out to each of our panelists and add value to them that way. They will love to hear from you if you share that. But don't go right away. It's like, hey, here's my ebook, check it out. Or here's this long story about, I mean, they don't have time for that. If they are interested to learn more, they will always ask. And I think for me, that's always the best way. You can build a relationship with people on the 8-figure business level, like Ramit Sethi, being a case study for him. That's how you can get noticed. And with some other big names, that's really, I think, one of the most powerful ways. And another thing that worked well for me is making introductions. If you happen to know someone they would like to meet, that's also a way I've added value to a ton of influencers, even many, many steps above me myself. So that's what I do.
Another trick I'll suggest is to go to live events. There's a renaissance with live events. And if you, I don't care how famous the person is, no one knows you're a nobody, or obviously you're not a nobody. I mean, all that matters is quality. If someone gives a great presentation and you walk up to them afterwards and say, thank you so much, that really kind of opened my eyes for some topic. Would you mind if I emailed you next week with a couple of questions? They're going to say yes. Don't take too much of their time at the event. But even crazy famous people want to be interviewed. Right? People like to be interviewed. People wake up in the morning hoping to be interviewed. You're giving them something they want. So I think live events kind of shortcut. No one's going to see the size of your followings or anything. It's just one-on-one. You go straight to the one-on-one. So I think that if they're not too expensive, if they're not too far away, if you can meet people at live events and offer to collaborate with them on content, email them questions, they email you back answers. You've got an interview from that person. It's a fast way to go to the front of the line.
Mm-hmm. And I had some questions. Okay, Sujan, sure.
I have three really quick tips, especially from that article, Andy, you just shared. One really big shortcut, go to live events, volunteer at conferences if you can't afford it. Even if you can, and you're just getting started, no better way than to volunteer, because guess what? You're helping the speakers get ready. You're organizing with the event holders. You're pretty much hanging out with the coolest kids there, right? And so you shortcut your way there, and you do a couple times. The founder of the CEO or CEO, I believe, one of the partners of Startup Social, who throws Growth Marketing Summit, Growth Marketing Conference. He started by volunteering, and now he's a partner in the business, and it's a pretty large operation. Number 2 is send emails on Saturdays, Saturdays or Sunday mornings. Schedule them if you have to. Keep them short to the point. I've gotten Richard Branson. I've had some pretty big names respond to me. I've asked a very specific question. I tell them, prove to people if you're asking questions that you put in some time to do the research. Don't just ask, hey, how do I start a blog? Dude, Google it, right? So don't ask questions you can Google.
Yeah.
And then the third quick tip is if you're asking somebody above your pay grade, or you're not, a couple notches above you, again, Google it and get don't ask them to answer these 5 questions on some sort of expert roundup. Answer their questions on their behalf by citing stuff they've said on the web and say, hey, I got this from the web on other places you've talked about. Does this look right for you? somebody can just say, yep, that's about right. Or no, let me just make a few changes. It's 5 minutes versus 1 hour. So make it really, really easy for people. No matter how big you are, it always works.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
how early you are.
Sujan, I love this because I've seen some blog posts out there and great articles where, they involve Tony Robbins, they involve some really big names. And usually it's actually, they didn't get an answer for us directly. Actually, they went out and did some really high quality research. And then they found it. Just actually one of our speakers, he just published a post, I think today, Ryan Robinson. Cody was in there. Maybe Sujan too. I'm not sure who else. He had a lot of people there. And for some people, I think he reached out to them, actually got them to respond. And for other people, he went out on the web to see what they've said about best business advice. And he published it. And now he's probably going to rank for that because he has a lot of great influencers on board there. And he didn't need to get yes from every single one to feature them in that post. So that's a great strategy, I think. I had another thing coming up here. Let's see. It's actually, how do you do original research if you don't have a big budget and network like you guys? Okay, who wants to take that one?
Oh, I'll jump in real quick.
Yeah. All right.
So someone asked me, is a search tool standard on a website? I said, I don't know. Let's find out. I found a list of top marketing websites on Alexa, 50 marketing websites. I just had, you could pay someone, you could do it yourself. It's not that much work. I just went through all 50 websites and observed and looked at them and found out what they have in common and what they don't. I published this as an article called Web Design Standards, and it ranks number 3 today for web design standards. And it tells you which website, are these features standard or are they just common? And, if you don't have the time or money to do something like a big outreach, like a survey, you can just do research through observation, find a data set and observe it, or even just aggregation. I found I did a post about how much money marketers make. And I just went to glassdoor.com and payscale.com and got the average salary for all marketing job titles and averaged them and made a blog post called How Much Money Marketers Make. People loved it. It's my number 1 most successful email newsletter this year. Cost nothing.
Wow. I mean, that's awesome. And I think a lot of these research, actually, unless you're spending a lot on design and infographics and all that, we have like a guide coming out. I mean, the research was free. I didn't spend money on that. Now I have a team, but they work for me anyway and doing these things, so they could do that research. And I did all the outreach myself, actually. I didn't do it at scale or anything. I reached out to Sujan, I reached out to Cody, I reached out to all these other people I wanted to involve in the post and got their answers. So you can definitely do this on a budget. That's how I started. I didn't spend any marketing budget or anything until I started spending on Facebook ads, 2 years into my business or even 3 years into my business, whatever it was. So that can work well. Sujan?
You can use tools like Canva. If you're making a book, an ebook, or any graphics, like when I first started making presentations and I started getting a lot of webinar requests and speaking requests, I was like, I don't have time to go or money to go pay a designer, but I want to make this thing look good. So I just used Canva templates and I built it on Canva, right? And they worked really well. Also for infographics or any type of charting, pick the chart. Vengage is good. Visium, these are really low cost tools, or free a lot of times if you keep their branding on it. Mm-hmm. Out of an Excel spreadsheet, not a Microsoft Excel chart, right? You can make something very, very beautiful, and it's all about that design. To be honest, a very light study can be perceived as very extensive if it looks beautiful. I've found that design is very key to promotion. If it looks like a professional website, if it looks like a professional brand, a company that makes $1 million, millions of dollars, it works well. In fact, at contentmarketer.io, people always reach out thinking we get so much traffic. We make, we're this large startup. I'm like, no, there's 3 of us, and you wouldn't believe how much or how when we got started or how big we really are. And I'm not trying to hide it, but the perception is very, very real. And it's all based off how polished things look.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible. And someone says here in the chat, easel.ly is good for and making infographics. I mean, there's a lot of tools for that out there now, actually. Actually, before, I had one personal question after. I'm just going to take one from the chat here, but I think it's directed to Andy regarding creating original content. How can I increase engagement with blog posts which present unique ideas which haven't been discussed in my field of spirituality? I find that I present these concepts and ideas, but I don't get any comments on my blog, on my posts. What can I do to encourage people to comment? And I invite them to share their thoughts, but I get no response. So you want to start with this, Andy?
Well, the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way is to experiment with different calls to action at the bottom of the post. There are people who read a piece of expert advice and they immediately have the urge to give their own expert advice. And you can, one of the things that's worked for me is at the bottom of a blog post to say, what did I miss? What else can I learn from you? Well, what would you like to share with your fellow readers? And there's people who just add to the post. They basically, you triggered some ideas and you're not asking for dissent, you're asking for support. That might work. Another thing is to potentially leave the first comment. And that's a smart way to just, at the bottom of your post, when it's done, don't put the call to action in the post, write a comment yourself and say, hey, here's the, this is the author here. And I just wanted to ask anyone else if they have other ideas on this, or if they disagree with what I said earlier. Finally, really what people tend to comment on is stuff that triggered emotion. So anxiety, anger, and awe are the three emotions that lead to the strongest, to strong action. So if you just go back to your writing and take out all those little extra fluff, all the throat clearing phrases, all the qualifying words, and just, have a cocktail and then do some editing and go back and write it stronger. Just make it a stronger post. Stick your neck out farther and make stronger cases. It might get a little bit uncomfortable with how direct your language is, and you'll find that your post becomes shorter, easier to consume, and probably has a bit more emotional content. Stop qualifying and make your language more direct.
Yeah, for sure. And someone asked before, I think she's a writer. So how does this apply? Maybe she's like fiction or whatever. Would this apply for someone like that who wants to? Any insights on this?
Oh, I'm a content marketer and my approach is just teaching. So I'm probably a bad person to ask. Yeah. I think Copyblogger has done some podcasts though about how to do content marketing, or another called Rainmaker. How to use content marketing if you're a fiction writer. I think that part of the trick there is to tell people what you're working on, bring them along in the process of creating your book or something like that.
It's about the story of the writing, not what you're writing.
Love it.
And people love the story. They eat it up. It doesn't matter what the beginning is or the end. That's irrelevant. Just state those things, and the middle is what people care about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you see that with Nathan Barry, who did that pretty well. He would always talk about what he was doing right then and there. He would talk about the step-by-step process of, the behind the scenes of creating a product. And that's why his blog really took off. And I think that's why also Video Fruit has taken off. Yeah. Because it's almost like meeting the Kardashians with Brian Harris.
Yeah, that's a good point. And actually, we talked a little bit about that yesterday. So you might not have this experience. I mean, I didn't have experience when I started, but you can start where you are and maybe doing like a Tim Ferriss approach where you're not actually the expert when you're starting, but you can like experiment with different things and see what's working and explore that on your blog or your website, and then involve people in your content who are actually the experts, and then eventually you can build your authority in the space too. I mean, Brian Harris did that actually. He wasn't really the expert, and then he learned along the way. He learned how to do launches and how people they trust him. He's the expert on different things, right? So it's that approach is really powerful to take the journey approach if you think, okay, I'm not an expert on this topic. So yeah, for sure. Actually, I wanted to add something about summits, because it's so we're creating a lot of content, right? So like, I just wanted to see like what you guys would do if you had like all these content, because like that's also something people think about when they're like really any content. But for a summit, you have a lot of interviews. What would like take first Cody, for example. What would you do with, you created a summit, content promotion summit. What would you do with that to just get the word out there more afterwards, to like say have so much content you can like cut it up or like put it on different websites? Is that something you are doing to repurpose the content?
So I know that Chandler Bolt has repurposed content from his summit. I have thought about it, but I was thinking of actually rolling it up into a membership site with other content, like, you know, existing courses. I have 2 other courses I've created, and then teaming up and potentially licensing other people's summits and bringing that all together within the same monthly membership site, so that people can get all this content and all these interviews from different summits all together in one site, and then maybe dripping out some of that content as blog posts or videos that are transcribed, but generally just keeping it gated.
That's why I love, personally, why I love summits, because you create, I mean, for my first summit, the branding summit, I had like 88 interviews for that one or whatever it was. And, you know, even like I kind of moved away from doing all these like branding, personal branding, to like teaching about summits. That's why I didn't really do much with it, but I have so much content still, and it's still really relevant. So I could go back there, and now that I have more money to invest in my team, just to like repurpose that content, get it out there around the web, and have a lot of content marketing going on. Same with, I guess, this summit, you know, like getting in different mediums, like, I mean, not just publishing. I mean, I have a premium pass, so I wouldn't like put the entire interview out there or the entire presentations, but put small pieces out there around the web, and then grow from there. I think that's just infographics, different things to just like do more marketing afterwards to continue to spread the word about it, and, you know, get more people. I mean, I guess this purpose would be to sign up for list building schools. So.
Yeah, I'll throw in a tip, and this has to be my last. Sadly, I have to run. It is an event in the other room.
It's been great so far. So it's good.
But I would say that I mean, you can either atomize and make something big into small pieces, or combine. I like Cody's idea. One thing that you could do, I've got a book on my shelf right behind me called like the CMO, the periodic table for chief marketing officers. And the whole book, it's a beautiful formatted book. Like Sujan would like it. It looks the design is nice. And all it is every 2 pages is a different interview summary. We called all these chief marketing officers and just interviewed them. Some of them were from big companies. And so that's one idea. Also, keep it exclusive. I like that idea of having make things gated. And another way to upgrade the format is, like we said, live events. Navid, I think we just need to do your summit in Cancun, and we're all going to meet at your place. Because that's what to do with the summit, is to go to the in-person, like the highest level, face-to-face, live. So
on the beach, my ocean view.
Yep.
Let's do it.
List Building School live, Cancun 2017. I will see you guys there.
Hashtag no pants.
Yeah, right.
You have to go there. You're right. You're absolutely right, Sujan.
So guys, I have one more thing that came to the chat, which is kind of interesting. So one of the panelists yesterday said they barely write, you know, blog posts, but they focus solely on their email list, which, I mean, I guess they have built that up then. And then from the content sent to the list, they would create blog posts afterward, kind of repurpose, because this person, I think they're referring to Primoz Bush, he's creating like these really epic emails. Like really, they are like they're like blog posts, really. They're like, could be like 1,000 words sometimes, it's emails, and they're really compelling. Would this approach be effective with these strategies as well? I mean, I'm guessing so. If you're going to publish it, like, I mean, it's repurposing. Who wants to take that last one?
I can take it on.
Sujan.
So yeah, I mean, that works, right? You're testing it out. You're using it. Your primary use is maybe your email list, or it's somewhere that you can drip your email. You can post it in different places. One thing people forget, because it's like, let's say your list building school, or Cody, your content promotion summit, you got a lot of people to it, but you also are missing millions of other people, right? Even if you got millions of people, you're still missing millions of other people. So it's new. Your content is new to somebody. And so I think republishing it on like as slide shares, Ross Simmons is really, really good at that. You can see all his presentations. They get 10, 20, 30,000 views. Medium LinkedIn can get your LinkedIn audience, that people like that want to hire you, or people you're professionally connected to you, just get your content in front of their face. So there's so many different formats of republishing. I actually tested this exact thing on my book, 100 Days of Growth. So I wrote the book in 2015, and secretly, well, not so secretly, but not so secretly, I've been publishing parts of it as blog posts over the last year and a half. But in the blog post, I just update it in more detail and kind of expand on it. And all it is I'm taking 1 or 2 chapters of the book, combining it into one blog post and in themes, and expanding it. And like, it actually forces me to go back and update the book every time I do it. So it's just making more content. I personally like, after let's say a big conference like this is over, or this type of thing is over, to make things not gated and use it for top of the funnel marketing to get next year to get 10x the audience, or really nurture that people saying, this is what you do. Growthhackers.com, they do, they just launched Growth Hacker Projects. Sean Ellis sent a daily email of one growth hack, and it links to the original source from years, right? And it's like, here's how you can take action on it. And so, yeah, I know that information, but I forgot it. And so the power of simplicity, don't forget that.
For sure. This has been awesome, guys. Awesome panel. And, just to wrap up, where can people connect with you, Sujan? And then we go to Cody and Andy.
Yeah, best place to do that is on my blog. Comment. I'm asking, please comment. Or on Twitter at Sujan Patel.
That's awesome. All right, Cody, where can people connect more with you?
Yeah, at marketdoc.com. It may not stay that name forever, but marketdoc.com, and Cody B. Lister on Twitter.
All right, cool. And actually, I linked that below the video as well. So Andy, where can people connect with you?
My Twitter handle is at Crestodina. It's my last name. You can find it anywhere. My blog is at orbitmedia.com. LinkedIn's my social network of choice. And the book, Content Chemistry, the 4th edition of my book, speaking of updating your book, is out next week. You can find it on Amazon or anywhere. Awesome.
Linking that to Content Chemistry. And if you have any takeaways from this panel, feel free to post it below in the Facebook comments. Let them know, Andy, Cody, and Sujan. Show your appreciation for what they did, and just let them know about it. That's how you can start building a relationship with them, so they actually know that you exist. If you need anything, just reach out and tweet this, share this summit on social media, and and I hope you take your content to the next level and grow your email list from it. So thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.